Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar of Business Markers. This is our session in English. At 4:30 this afternoon, we have another session in Dutch. First, I would like to explain to you the interface. On your right, you will see a questions tab. There you can ask questions during this webinar. The second tab is polls. There you can participate in our polls during this webinar. Then I would like to introduce to you today's guest speaker, Bart Bols and Erwin Roels. They are both partners at Business Markers and experienced at sales and marketing. So now I pass the floor to Bart.
Hi, very good morning, very good afternoon. It's exciting to see how many of you are present at this webinar, The Batteries of Sales. And as just Lean said, thank you very much, Lean, for your introduction. We would like to briefly introduce each other to you. Yes.
A big welcome to you all. Nice to see some familiar faces on this webinar as well. My name is Erwin Roels. I'm partner at Business Markers like my colleague Bart. I would like to introduce you to Bart. He's for me a dynamic technical sales professional. He's got over 20 years of experience in commercial management and business strategies. And what I really appreciate about Bart is his pragmatic approach and his methodical way of working. Always recognizes the best in people and teams, and he works out of their strengths.
Okay, thank you very much, Erwin. Erwin, he is joining us today, Erwin Roels. He's an eternal optimist for me. And early in his career, he rolled into the sales profession already. And with the passion to help companies and their employees, he uses his years of experience today to help them grow. What I appreciate about Erwin that he is he has a very critical eye, and he can easily and quickly assessing a sometimes complex situation. Yes, it's nice working with him.
Thank you. So today we are October 7th, and it's that time of the year again when your boss comes up to you and he asks, tell me, what's your sales plan for next year? How much are you going to sell with your team in 2021? Well, typically the discussion has started, and these conversations about your sales plan 2021 will definitely continue for a while. And I'm sure that sales managers amongst us have already experienced this in the past. Today, we are going to focus on getting ourselves stronger as commercial directors, as account managers, as coaches as well in these talks. We have a strong belief and a credo that we often use at Business Markers, and that is really appropriate here, which is winners have a plan, losers have an excuse. And today we would like to give you inspiration to make your sales plan, a practical plan that really leads to success, a plan that you can confidently present to your management and that will help you in leading and guiding your team. So this model on which our plan is based is called the batteries of sales. And it looks like a quite busy plan, but it isn't the case. These are 18 batteries or building blocks that are connected to each other. Together with these blocks, it will form the basis for your strong plan. Bart and I, we have been sales managers ourselves for a long time. And when we got the question from our management, we went back to existing templates and models such as business model canvas, or we build our plan around the history about the current forecast, existing customers, new customers. Well, typically with this plan, what we would like to do, as we have divided it in 5 large blocks, I would like to point out what these blocks are, which is 1, where do we want to go to? What is our objective? What is our target? Secondly, what information about the inside and the outside do we have? What kind of analysis can we make? Thirdly, who is our target group and how do we bring value to the market? Fourthly, How do we get our company well organized? And lastly, what does it bring to us in numbers in the end? So, might be a busy plan, 18 blocks, but this is the batteries of sales simplified as you see it today. And what we will do, we will not dig into every single aspect, but we would like to focus this presentation, this webinar, on three main takeaways, three main blocks that we are going to address. First of all, a good plan provides ambition and strength, starting typically with an inspiring objective for yourself and for your for your sales teams. Secondly, the second block that we are going to address, make sure you are dealing with the right, valuable, long-term, long-lasting customers. And our third block, in which we will dig into deeper, will be create your insight on your value. Now, as you know, to win outside, you have to start from the inside. And the left-hand side of our model will give you more information about the outside as well. And we will dig into typically the analysis that we will try to make out of it. There you go, Bart.
Okay, thank you. During the first part of this webinar, we will zoom in on the best way to charge these two batteries. How can you create a powerful and inspiring objective and translate this objective into goals that are supported by the whole team. Based on our experience, we know that many of you will recognize yourself in the following wrong ways to set objectives and targets. And the first one is negotiation. Here we will have extensive meetings with our top management about our sales and budget plan. And we are going to meet each other, and after a long day, we obtain finally a consensus. But over there, sometimes even the difference has been split in two. Second method, the fake approval. Here we have worked very hard to finally come up with a very detailed sales plan. We have put it into a beautiful PowerPoint, and we finally can present this to our management. Very well done, they will say, and sometimes even we get a round of applause. Now, after a few days, they will call us back to confirm us that we will only get 60% of what we have asked for, and the targeted profit should be 12% higher than we had anticipated. Oops, that's a cold shower. In the third, finally wrong way, the management will impose their targets based on their knowledge, experience, and history without any profound, considerate market insights. It will not come as a surprise to you. Because of the lack of ambition, these plans will not be supported by the teams, and it even will lead to anger and frustration. Okay, finally, I am pretty curious to learn which one you recognize him or herself in these ways of imposing objective and targets. And here we go to the poll. You can see the poll on the right side of your screen, and there the poll appears and you can vote. Okay. In 75% of the cases, or 75% of the people, they can recognize themselves in these ways of forcing objectives and goals. 25% yet. Well, that means the lesson learned here is that a good preparation is crucial. The good preparation before you go into these discussions with your management. And there we want to inspire you. We want to inspire you with this batteries of sales model. Now, the question still is, how should we do it then? Well, I think it's obvious that we should co-create. We should co-create together with our team and our management. And each growth opportunity should be evaluated. And the right strategy should be chosen together with the consensus. With the consensus and the focus to the outside world, to our customers, to our market, and above all, most important, to the trends and the movements in that market. Actually, we are now in the left part of our model, in our batteries of sales model. And based on the insights, on the market insights, we should now formulate the answers to two questions we have to ask ourselves. The first one is, how do we want to grow? How will we exceed last year's performance? Second one is, what are our strengths compared to the competition in that market? And how will we generate more market share as a result? In the next slides, I am going to illustrate this with a concrete example in the next slides. It's the company Glass Doors. And Glass Doors is specialized in fire-resistant solution. They are an expert in maximum glazed carpentry work to protect people from fire and from heat. The objective we have developed for Glass Doors was to be the reference in the Benelux and in the care sector. And based on their strengths compared to the competition, we have determined their success factors. And we have written out the buy. We are going to do that by customization. We are going to do that by innovating the most extensive range of fire-resistant glazed joinery. Let's have a short analysis of this objective. The objective was ambitious yet realistic. It gives a clear insight into the playing field, both in terms of product and market. And obtaining the purpose by action can also be found here, and that is very important. Too often we still see objectives that do not specify the buy, that do not specify the actions, and that creates a lot of insight at your team. Please also take into account that we do not mention numbers here. And we should define, or we have defined a qualitative objective. Numbers must be included in the goals, not in the objective. Numbers do not motivate or inspire people. But numbers are still very important. Goals, creating and developing goals is also very important, but it's not in your objective. So we have defined for the company Glass Doors, we have defined a few goals. We have translated the sales objective into very concrete sales targets and actions per region and per sales person.
Now, what does that mean exactly for the sales team targets? Well, I'll explain you how this works. On the one hand for your team, and on the other hand for every sales professional within your team. Well, it's simple. The first step is to translate the objective into goals, into measurable criteria, into numbers. Look at the example that Bart has just explained and think in terms of numbers. Then secondly, translate this objective into figures for your sales team and put it into sales team targets. This may seem simple at first sight, but don't be mistaken, not in all markets it is the case that If you receive orders over the entire year with a total value of the invoice turnover, that every single order can be invoiced during that year. Now, what does that mean for the sales targets or the individual sales targets? Let me dig into that in the following slide. Regarding the sales targets, you as a commercial director, as a sales manager, or as an account manager, as a coach, as a leader, as a director, as a manager, I would like to give you the following points and takeaways. Make sure that you provide internal targets which are SMART. I'm not going to explain you the principle over here, but you know to make them specific, measurable, and so on. Provide individual targets based on the history and the growth opportunities per team and individually. Just to give you an example, if January, for instance, is a very, very strong month in your business every single year, make sure that it is translated in your monthly individual targets. Make sure as well that the sales targets are visible, not only for the entire team, but also for your management. Take the chance to show off. Don't let big successes lie in the drawer until the next monthly sales meeting, but make noise around it as soon as you can. That's important to keep the motivation going. Show the monthly and quarterly figures, but also pay attention to the cumulative figures. What I mean by that is it's very good to make one of your sales guys the sales guy of the month in the month of April. But if he hadn't succeeded to make his number in January, February, March, he's not doing a good job. And lastly, don't forget sales targets and making your sales target, it remains the shared responsibility of the sales manager and his sales rep. As a manager, you will guide through methods and techniques in sales and account management. Don't forget to spend time on these. And if your agenda will prevent you to do so, ask for help outside of your company.
So much for charging these batteries, creating objectives and clear sales goals, which are motivating, inspiring, and motivating for your team, starting from the inside. In our second part of this webinar, we will zoom in on the next batteries. And the next batteries are our customers, our market, and our portfolio of solutions. We often see various interpretations in sales organization regarding the exact focus on the right valuable customers. What we have noticed that there is a need for an integral approach to a supported market segmentation that is crucial in order to be successful and to be able to win in the future, to win in your market. Who is your ideal customer? And in order to win in the external world, you should start from within. Know your company. I summed it up in 3 steps. Step 1. Let's start over there at the beginning, of course, from our insights into the market, our objective and our goals. That's what we have defined just a few minutes ago. And let's make a choice of the best growth strategy. Step 2. Which are our most ideal and valuable customers? And why are they? Can this be measured in an objective way? That would be nice. And let us translate this into an ideal customer profile. Finally, step 3, there we should look at our internal organization. How attractive are we to these customers and why are we attractive? Let's measure it. That means, how do these customers look at us? Get to know how they think about us and how can we make the difference. Same applies here. We want to measure it in an objective way. The purpose is to create a clear customer and market segmentation and obtain a profound understanding of our target customers. In which type of customers and in which market will we invest time and money? And which customers or markets should we ignore? Finally, it's important to know that the growth opportunities at these markets, at these customers, are sufficient to meet our desired objective and goals and results. If not, we should adjust our strategy and we should make better choices. Let's dive in step one. Step one is about determining the right growth strategy. And strategy is all about making choices. The Ansoff model can be very helpful at this point. The Ansoff model is linking solutions, product portfolio, and together with customers and market. And here you can see you have 4 possible growth strategies. Each quadrant is a different growth strategy. The top 2 quadrants give you more insights about obtaining customers. The bottom 2 quadrants will tell you all about retaining and growing customers. Now, whatever growth strategy you choose, a profound analysis of your existing customers will always result into a profound understanding about the right valuable customers. And this is how we come to step 2. Here we should describe our ideal customer profile. Who are they? Why? And how can this be measured in an objective way? A very good exercise for determining your ideal customer based on your existing or recent customers is the following. Write a few of your customers down in the left column. They are your perfect fit customers. In the second column, you describe precisely as possible why these customers are ideal customers. And in the right column, you translate these characteristics into very concrete criteria as an ideal customer profile for your organization. And if possible, you should even take measurable criteria. I give you an example. One of the criteria could be customers who are market leaders in their own market. What does it mean? Does it mean that they have more than 20% or does it mean that they have more than 50% of the market? So make it measurable. Do the same exercise for your worst fit customers. Translate also, again, characteristics of your worst fit customer or a few worst fit customers into criteria finally. Yeah. I come back again to the example of glass doors where we did this exercise for creating or writing down the ideal customer profile. For glass doors, we have selected 6 criteria, and I give you an advice to make a choice of 3 to maximum 6 criteria. And these 6 criteria are describing the ideal customer profile of glass doors. For each criteria, we have given a weight of importance. For example, here, premium prices, healthy margins. The importance was 10%. Then we have rated a number of customers from different markets for their attractivity to glass doors. Okay, so far so good. Let's see where we are. Step 1, making a choice of the right growth strategy. Step 2, creating and validating customers and markets and creating an ideal customer profile. Step 3, know your own company, your team, and the solutions and the advantage you offer to your customer compared with your competitors. Step 3 is finding out how do customers look at us? How do they perceive us? And where do they think that we make the difference? What do we want for our customers and what are our unique strengths? In short, what is our competitiveness? The best way to find out is ask them, and that's what we have done also at the Glassdoors company. Based on Based on the customer's feedback, a number of criteria have emerged, and we have identified where Glassdoors makes the difference. And at the same time, we also asked the importance of each criteria. That's the weight. And to what extent Glassdoors scored as a supplier. Of course, the right choice of customers and markets is crucial in this exercise to create more insights. So far, so good. Step 3, check. Know your own company. Now, finally, you can visualize this as follows in a very clear way. Consolidate the analysis you did into type of customers or into markets and assess your competitiveness. For example, hospitals and care centers were defined as a target market for Glassdoors. A special attention was to be given to the daycare centers. In order to further define your strategic sales actions and objectives, you should obviously further analyze your markets, of course. Your markets, your market share, the growth potential, as well as defining possible solutions you have, possible products and services per market. And also take a reflection on step 1. After you have run these 3 steps, your result will be a clear understanding of your market segmentation and your target customers. I give you 3 things to remember here. Crucial here for a well-defined market segmentation, use one uniform and integral approach. Secondly, involve the whole team in these exercises, especially also marketing. Otherwise, before you know it, every sales and marketing employee has their own focus and targets, and your sales reps will pick the most enjoyable customers with the best coffee, of course. Third, evaluate your progress, insights, and results, again, your strategy and objectives.
So before we go to the third and last part of this webinar, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to draw your attention to this slide. To win outside, you'd better start with the inside. This is definitely true, and many companies have recently focused on operational excellence, on internal culture, improving processes, internal processes and procedures as well. That's necessary to keep the machine running, so which is great. However, if your eyes are too often focused on your organization, then you have your back towards your customers, and that's a disaster for the growth of your company. The question for your sales teams remains, do sales reps spend too much time on internal administration and processes? Secondly, how well do your salespeople really know their customers? And today I would like to go a bit deeper into one aspect, because we see that sales professionals seem to make mistakes against this. There is a discrepancy of salesmen's enthusiasms during the sales process against the enthusiasm of the buyer and his process. Let me explain that in this slide. Provide insights into the sales process and into the purchasing process of your customer is important. We are convinced that that will increase the chances of winning a deal. And to make my point here, I sketched the typical course of a sales process. Most of you are very familiar with this, and especially in larger companies, it is mostly documented in a similar way in the CRM as well. So the first step results in a conversation with the customer to discuss the opportunity and flows through to the one deal or signed contract if everything goes well, obviously. There's one thing that I would like to share before moving on to the next slide. Never start selling too early. If the customer is only in his phase of information gathering, the second phase, it is not yet the right time to ask for the order. For example, if I would introduce myself to one of you and tell you, hey, my name is Erwin and I'm from Business Markets. How can we do business together? Then I'm afraid I'm going to come back from a bold trip and possibly that my potential customer is walking away from me. Let's go back to the emotion curve or to the sales process on the side of the seller's point of view. What you've just seen on our previous slide is an ideal, straightforward scenario between first contact and signing the contract. But allow me to take a sidestep here and tell you a story about how the emotions of a salesperson can grow through his eyes during the sales process. I used to be sales manager myself, and as a salesman, I had a salesman in my team. I call him David, a real optimist guy who was very happy from the start with a lead that had been given to him by our marketing department. So he does what he needs to do, calls the customer, makes an appointment, he knows exactly what actions he needs to take to help the customer in making the decision and to move on to designing the contract. David involves his colleagues, he sets up calls, arranges management meetings until he comes to a proposal. And eventually, David sits around the table and he closes the deal. So that's a great scenario here. But when I ask him during the weekly sales update sessions about the status of this particular case, he became more enthusiastic week after week. From a not rather neutral feeling, I would say, in the beginning, it grew to a very, very positive enthusiasm when the contract was signed with our new clients. Everybody happy. And I think that most of you know a David in your team, isn't it? Now, what about the customer? How does he experience this process? Well, actually, it's completely different. Or moreover, the process does not always run exactly as we have outlined it in our CRM. The customer listens, discovers the value, and eventually he will come back to us and make the deal if everything goes right. And here I would like to point out the emotion curve and how it runs at the customer side, which is the green line on this slide. As you see, it's completely different. And I provide you with another example. Our customer, I call him randomly Stan in this example. He used to be a decision maker at a major bank and he needed a solution to secure his IT network, a cybersecurity solution. He was rather negative towards David at the start, at first sight, but after a first conversation, he also became enthusiastic or more enthusiastic about what David had to tell, typically in the information phase. The proposal came in even worse. Stan went to his boss, talked about it, and the proposal was not at all in line with the budget. And Stan had to go back to square one, looking for another solution, and he even agreed to talk to a competitors of ours. To make a long story short, Stan joined forces with us, and after many discussions, we closed the deal. But what can we learn from this? Well, typically, we learn that the process is not as straightforward as we think. And even in a fourth phase, which might be the negotiation phase, Stan needed to go back to the information phase. Now, secondly, what do we learn moreover from this? There are gaps, gaps between the emotion curve, David's emotion curves, and Stan's emotion curve. It's up to us as a manager to properly identify the gaps and to determine the right actions to take if we want to close the deal successfully. So, our advice, our today's advice is be alert for the sales process internally, but also be alert for the purchasing process. In a deal, this is sometimes forgotten. So be aware of the gaps and take action when required. Now, I'm just curious of your opinion, and I want to know and ask you the question, you know how to deal with this. At the right hand side on the top, you have the poll. And there, I would like to ask you the following question. Are your salespeople today focused on the internal sales process, or are they rather focused on the customer's decision making process? You can make your vote on the top right hand side of the poll that you see over there. That's interesting. Um, it's interesting to see that typically we had that same result this morning during our first webinar, which was in Dutch at 9 o'clock. I see 63 at the moment are focused on the internal sales process and less are focused on the external process. So maybe something you can take away and something you can think about how you can do it better and how you can guide and coach your sales team to take a look to the sales or purchasing process as well. Good. We go back to our batteries of sales module and we explained to you at the beginning of this webinar that on the left hand side of the model we describe a list of methods and models that you can use to take a closer look at your own market and also at your own business. We at Business Markets, we use models for our customers depending on the situation and the market obviously to make internal as well as external marketing analysis to gather more information. And that's important. Remember your conversation with your boss that we stated, we told you about in the beginning of this webinar. He wants to make sure that your figure will grow for next year with, for instance, 10%. That's perfect. Only if the marketing analysis shows us that the market is only growing by 2%, that could be a big challenge to you and to your sales team. To say the least, analysis will make you stronger in the conversation with your boss. We at Business Markets, we use Porter's competitive forces model. We use the D-step model, the product customer matrix, the white space analysis as well. And we also use market information that is available from external companies. I'm thinking about the big four over here. I'm thinking about Gardner, Forrester, Frost and Sullivan, maybe local players here in Belgium. You have Strenghts or other parties from the Roulard Media group, which might help you with this one. Let me show you one very obvious one, and that's one that we all know. It's the SWOT analysis. It's a good model, but it's only a basis for us. We recommend you to go a step further. With the SWOT, we go a step further into the power SWOT, and secondly, into the application of each element in your power SWOT overview, which is in the second column that you see on the slide. The power SWOT keeps the focus on what really counts. Say, a short list of focus points that you should always keep in mind if you want to achieve your sales plan and your targets. We believe that if you focus on your own strengths, you significantly increase the chances of success. That's the power SWOT. Secondly, the implications. You describe the impact, the positive impact that every aspect of your power SWOT will have. And that can be very interesting for your salespeople. Let me give you an example. When I used to be sales manager in demonstrating the value of our company, I always emphasized in my conversation with the customer that we were a financially stable company. A strength which is not often used, but which has a positive implication for our customer. Because as a consequence, I told the customer as well that he could trust in us and that he could build out a long-term relationship with us with all the confidence that he needs. So we go from SWOT, which is a good model, to power SWOT, to the impact analysis for your people, your team, your organization. And then we take a closer look to what it means for your customer. I've pointed it out in this slide. You see the logical process in a in a row. And I will add you one more, just because I like the matrix and I would like to give it away to you today. That is the priority matrix. You determine your sales actions, for instance, and you've got a lot of sales actions and many ideas that might come from your team. And often it's not always easy to determine which priority you are going to give to each sales action. Well, to help you with this, I bring up the priority matrix over here. And it's just very easy to ask yourself two questions, and you arrive at the right priority. On the one hand, on the vertical axis, you can see how easy it is to do, the doability, let's say. The bottom is difficult, the top is easy. Is the project easy to do or not? Secondly, on the horizontal axis, you determine the impact. Is the impact low or is the impact high? And the impact might be generating revenue or increasing margin, also taking away the risks. And all the actions, you are going to point them out on this model. You can easily map the various opportunities and actions also in an early phase, and to put it somewhere on these 16 blocks over here. If you want, I can go into detail on another moment on this priority matrix.
Okay, so far so good. These batteries are charged, inspiring objectives, clear circles, starting from insights, assessments, and market intelligence. We have also evaluated the right valuable customers. And finally, in the third and last part of this webinar, we love to dive in, or we like to dive in your value proposition. The battery value proposition is in the center of our model of the batteries of sales. And that's with a reason, of course. It's one of the most important batteries of our model. And it's all about what is our uniqueness? What is our incredible unique quality which makes your competition jealous? Earlier, we talked about determining your competitiveness from the point of view of our customers in the beginning of this webinar. We still notice that a lot of sales reps very often refer to the characteristics of their product, about the what they can do and about the what they can deliver. We see that very often they do not manage to translate this into unique selling points, in uniqueness for customers. And customers are not interested in our products or services. They need to see the advantage. And an advantage is what a product means to them when they are using our products or services. And actually, customers are only really interested when they realize the effect of the advantage. And that's what we call the benefit. A customer really wants to see the effect of the advantage when they are using our products or services. That means that we do not sell drilling machines, but we sell holes in the wall. We do not sell holes in the wall, but we do sell a nicely decorated children's room. Let's give a very simple example with a sleeping bag. The Yeti VB 800 sleeping bag, and you see here is specific product features on the right side. The advantage of this sleeping bag for 800 gram and in the mummy shape is that it helps maintaining body heat on cold nights down to minus 15 degrees. The benefit is that you can sleep comfortably and start the next day full of nice and fun activities. What do we still miss to be able to elaborate our value proposition? The customer, which is the ideal type of customer who is willing to pay a premium price for this type of sleeping bag. Of course, our value proposition will be completely different for children who are going to sleep at the neighbors, or is it a professional mountain climber? This exercise can help. Yes, write the sentence out, specific on your customers. Focus on your ideal customer. And this will lead in the end to a solid value proposition. Another example, a variation of this, is the following sentence. And I have again used here the company glass doors. And also here, it will be different for different type of customers, as each of them have other challenges. For example, architects or general contractors will have a completely different value proposition. And these kind of sentences can help you to inspire you and to write down a really valuable value proposition. We hope really that we have given you enough energy for this battery of value proposition. And here I would like to end with the same quote: stop selling products.
So exactly, we are coming to the conclusion of this webinar. We've seen the inspiring objective, the right valuable customers and your value proposition. These batteries are charged now. And you might recognize this team. They have won the World Championships in 2018. It's the Belgian national hockey team. It was not at all a coincidence that this team have won the World Cup. They started off with building a strong plan, not less than 6 years before winning this title. That's what we say. That's our well-known credo and belief at Business Markers. Winners have a plan and losers have an excuse. We are organizing regularly these kind of webinars, and the next one is on growing your export business with our colleague Bram on November the 4th, always the first Wednesday of the month. So to conclude this model, I hope it will, or it has inspired you already to write your own sales plan. The batteries make the connections between the main blocks, and we wanted to tell you three things mainly. Be prepared and make yourself a strong plan for both yourself and for your sales team. Make sure you are dealing with valuable customers with whom you can build up a long lasting relationship in the long run. Create also a value to you, the value that you bring as a team, as a company, as an organization that you can offer to your existing and to your future customers. And pay attention to the selling process. That's important, but don't forget the purchasing process as well. The plan with the 18 aspects, the 18 batteries of sales, we've pointed out some important blocks here, and here you see it simplified. Don't forget to start with your objectives, your targets, your goals before you start to take a close look to three things. On the left hand side, the business intelligence. In the middle, the focus on your customer value and your own sales operations. And on the right hand side, concluding it all into your profit and your revenue. That was it for us for today. We go to the questions and answers in a second, and I think there might have been some questions that have come in already. You are invited to take your smartphone right now to scan this QR code. We would like to make ourselves better and learn from this webinar as well. So if you can do this and give some feedback through the scanning the QR, this QR code, that would be, we would be very grateful to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. We just need your name and email address, so you don't need to fill in all the fields, as you can see. But it's nice to learn also from you, though. So we are very gladful and thankful to do so.
Bart, is there a question that has come in that you would like to address?
Yeah,
right now?
Just a second. There are a few questions that came in.
Okay.
First one, apart from the SWOT analysis, are there any other analysis you can use to obtain more insights into the market?
Definitely into the market, we use models like the five forces model, Porter's five forces model. We use the deep step model. Obviously, the O and the T of the SWOT analysis is a good one as well, to take a look to the opportunities or positive trends, as we call it, and the threats. That's a good one as well. As I possibly I've mentioned it already, but there is a lot of information about the market around. Take a look to what the Big Four, to what Gartner, to what
Yeah.
Forrester and other recommended parties can bring to you. Very, very helpful.
Yeah. Now the question that came in is where to find details and info of the remaining part of the battery of sales template.
Mhm. Well, that's an easy one, Hassan, and thank you for joining us again. By the way, you were there this morning, and with a quick reply, you've made it to this English session. It's really appreciated, Hassan. So this question from Hassan, you can find it very easily on our website. If you go to our website and you go to Get Smarter on the top right-hand side of our screen, you see our tools, and there you see a long list of different tools that we bring to the table, going about purpose and values and strategy and making plans and the export model as well. Goal setting, priority setting, and also the priority matrix is over there. It's about marketing, but also about sales. And under sales, you will find the batteries of sales. If you click on this one, you can have the template very easily. But also after this webinar, you will get a link from our site to download it.
And don't forget, we will develop further webinars to dive into the other batteries of our model. We have made the choice here to dive in deeper in a few batteries, not to bring them all. It's not possible on 40 minutes. And of course, you can also take contact with us to have a chat or a cup of coffee, whatever. Yeah. Good. Last and final question. We did not find something in your plan over here about the role of marketing. What is the role of marketing according to your plan? Good question.
Indeed, that's a good question. If you take a look into the middle of the batteries of sales, where we point out trusted advisor, where we point out value as well, there is a part about marketing, or what we call smarketing, the strong relation between sales and marketing together, or the smart way of doing your marketing. We have a very typical, or maybe atypical, as we are with business markets, view on this. With the classical funnel, where you have a lot of opportunities going to quotes and going into won deals, we turn it around, what we call flip the funnel, and we start doing marketing as from the moment onwards that you've got a customer, and we will make ambassadors out of him and all the and he will bring the value, or he will show the value to our target market. Very interesting one. You can find it on the same page on our Business Markers website as well. So marketing is indeed important in our batteries of sales module. That's true.
Yeah, absolutely. It's together with value proposition. It's in the center of our model, and together with the soft skills as trusted advisor, of course.
Good question.
Okay, good. So I want to thank everybody of you to came in and to stay with us, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you next week, next month. Don't forget, we have every month this kind of webinars, every month on the first Wednesday of the month. If you love to spend 1 hour how to grow with your company and how your teams, have a watch to our communication, have a watch to our website. And thank you very much for joining us. See you next time. Bye
See you
bye.
next time. Bye for now. Bye. Cheers.
Cheers.